What's up, friends? Pretty successful morning of work. Gotta head out to get Lila. Thanks for letting me know, car. Well, Lila watches a little bit of TV and has her lunch. I'm gonna do something for the lawn. It needs some food. We gotta water this stuff in a little bit. It's on a timer right now, but station 2 before 60 minutes. See how you like that, Lawton. I was just handed something by the UPS delivery guy that actually I've been waiting on all day. I'm not gonna say it was a surprise, but it is something I've been waiting on for probably a couple of years now. Let me explain. If you ask me what is the one lens that I've used the most in my career, in fact, if you asked most photographers what is their workhorse lens, what is that go-to lens that could be kind of used in a ton of situations, a ton of different shooting environments, there would be a couple different answers. But definitely in the mix would be a 24-70 f2.8 lens. And I've got one right here. This is my Canon 24-70 f2.8 L Mark I. This is one of the lenses that I've owned the longest. I mean, it's kind of what I said, it's a workhorse lens. It works in so many different environments and situations. This lens I've had for 5 or 6 years, so I've definitely got my use out of it. It cost about $1,400, I think, when I bought it, brand new. Now Canon has since come out with a second version of this. It's the same specs, 24-70, f2.8. The glass elements are better and things like that, and it's sharper and blah blah blah. But it's quite a bit more expensive. It's, I think, closer to $2,000 even right now, and it's been out for a year or more. And I just couldn't justify the cost of replacing this one, which worked fine with that new one. That really didn't give me a huge difference other than like sharpness and things like that, which I'll admit, people who have used that lens and this one, they say hands down it's way better. I've just never actually used it. Which is probably a good thing for my wallet, because if I did, I probably would be like, you know what, I gotta upgrade. So this has been my workhorse. As my photography has progressed, I actually don't use this lens that much anymore, especially at weddings. I'll use it during the reception a lot of times because of that quickly being able to change focal lengths, and it's a fast 2.8 lens. So sometimes I do use it at receptions, but other than that, I'm generally sticking to prime lenses. And those are generally much sharper and can go much wider apertures to let in more light to be able to shoot in low light. Well, here, let me show you. Lenses like these. These are usually my go-tos. Yeah. This is the Canon 85mm f1.2 L lens. This is a monster. And then we've got the Canon 35mm f1.4 prime. So I generally shoot weddings with these kind of lenses. However, I use this lens a ton in my video work. So these cameras, like the 5D Mark III, can shoot pictures, obviously, but they're pretty great at video also, and they kind of revolutionized the game of video. And I still use this lens like crazy in video. When I'm filming a wedding, this lens lives almost exclusively on my C100 Mark II. So this guy is on here like this almost an entire wedding. I shouldn't even say almost, it is. When I'm filming a wedding, this lens is on this camera. There's one thing that this lens could get that would make it that much better. And Canon, for some reason, refuses to make it. That's where Sigma steps in. In the last couple of years, Sigma has been making their Art series lenses, where they make a 35, and they make an 85, and they make pretty much all the other lenses that you can get in their Art series lenses. When I first started photography, I never bought any third-party lenses. They never were really good compared to the Canons or the Nikons. But Sigma's been killing it with the Art series. Those lenses have sometimes even been outperforming the Canons or the Nikons of the equivalent. But there was one lens that people wanted from them, and they've been screaming forever for Sigma to make it, and Sigma's finally done it. And that was the 24-70 f2.8 Art image stabilized lens. That last part is the big part. Image stabilized. It has the typical lens stabilization built into it. Canon does not have that. They do not make that lens. They do make a 24-70 f4 stabilized. And people were like, why didn't they make a 2.8? Anyway, Sigma announced they were making this lens earlier this year, I believe, or maybe it was towards the end of last year. And about a month ago, it was available for pre-order. I decided to click that pre-order button on this lens. Then it became a waiting game because nobody really knew when it was going to be released. It turns out it did come out like a couple of weeks ago. Pre-orders were slowly going out. That's what came in the mail today. And that's what I'm excited to replace this guy with the stabilized version of it. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. Okay, let's move some of this. A lot of people own these Sigma Art lenses and they swear by them, but this is going to be my first time owning, even using, a Sigma Art series lens. Here it is, the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 image stabilized lens for Canon. Got your lens hood. It's a beast. One thing I'm interested in is to see if this lens can stay like this. All right, it's good enough. That is a pet peeve of mine on some lenses. So on the 24-70 here, say you take your lens off and you just want to put it down really quick to maybe change to another lens, boom, just put it down like that. It stays, it's not going anywhere. This one, while not as stable, it still stays pretty well. Other lenses like the 85, big old hood, obviously that stays no problem. But the first thing I thought when I saw this flower shape design, that's the design they call this, kind of a hood, was it made me think of the lens hood to the 35mm lens. Because when it's on there, and you take this off and you want to change it, it's so dumb. It's rounded right here, so you can't do that. That's always one thing that bugged me about this lens. I'd end up putting it like this, but then it can roll and whatever. I'm on a tangent right now, but you get what I'm saying. I'm glad to learn that this can stay like this. So now, this guy, so if I'm gonna shoot photos with this, you would go on there just like that. Let's do a little quick test. You won't really be able to see this, but I'm gonna go to, I'm at 70mm. Let's go down to a 30th of a second. At 70mm at a 30th of a second, that would generally cause handshake, like just holding it causes shake. Although I am propped up right here, so that's helping. Let's see, let's do it without doing that. Still did a pretty good job. And if I took that same shot with this one, it would probably be a little blurry. In fact, why don't we try it? Yeah, there's definitely some noticeable blur. Let's go down to a 1/10 of a second. Let's try it out. In fact, we're even gonna go to 2.8 as low as possible. Okay, it's not great. I'll show those to you. And let's just see. This is kind of a test. I mean, I'm not even expecting this to do great. If it does, awesome. If not, okay. 1/10 of a second is pretty slow. Yeah, it still has shake. To be expected. It was a little better. It's definitely still has a little bit though. And one thing I'm definitely gonna have to get used to, the focusing rings and the zoom rings are opposite. So the first one here, like the first one your fingers are touching on this lens is focus, and the next one is zoom. This guy, the first one that your fingers are touching is the zoom, and the second one out here is the focus. This guy does weigh quite a bit more, it feels like. Like, it's a noticeable difference. Yeah. I didn't buy this for stills. I might use it for stills, but I bought it for video. Mainly to go on the C100, just like that. And mainly to be able to use that stabilization that's in there. So I am super excited to see the difference of this lens on the C100 with the stabilization versus this lens. It seems, just with some little testing here, it kind of takes out, like, you know, the micro jitters, which do bug me. Even when I'm on a monopod, like, there's a tiny bit of little tiny jitters left and right, but this kind of smooths that out when you're panning. And you get more of like a fluid motion out of everything. So I'm gonna try to do some test footage and some pictures. Murphy, stop moving. Your claws make noise on the ground. Oh, I'm gonna make a cameo in the video. So I'm gonna try to do some more test footage with this, both stabilization on, stabilization off, and try to compare them. I'll try the best I can to get similar shots and see what it's like with it on, with it off. Murphy has decided that now is a good time to drink some water and eat some food, which is right here behind me, so maybe we'll take a pause until he's done. I'm definitely going to try to take some more footage over the next couple of days, comparing with the stabilization on and off. I want it to take out those micro jitters. Like, that's my goal in this. As long as this is good enough, I'm gonna sell this lens. That's the new lens here. I can't wait to really get out there and put it through its paces. I'll be filming a wedding on this Friday and this Saturday, 2 different weddings. It's gonna get some use right out the gate. And look at it. Does that not just look like a sexy lens on that C100? I mean, this is cool too, the red ring and everything, but this is just matte black and awesome. Here I decided to take the C100 outside with the new Sigma lens. This is just kind of showing like color reproduction and things like that. This is using wide DR as a picture style on the C100. I also wanted to see how well the autofocus could keep up with a moving subject here, and it does pretty good. Right here I'm trying to see the autofocus speed, which I was actually pretty happy at. Right here I'm shooting up almost into the sun. It's up in the top right hand corner there, and the flare, as you can see, is pretty under control. This was a simple test to see if the autofocus could keep up with a changing subject, which it does just fine at. Here is kind of interesting. This is something that, if it turns out to be true, is quite awesome. So one of the things that drives me nuts with my zoom lenses is they are not parafocal, meaning as you zoom in, the focus actually changes. So once you zoom in, you have to refocus. And I'm testing this right here. I'm zooming in, zooming out because, and I did it over and over because this lens does a very good job. It almost seems like it's in focus when you zoom in and zoom out. Now, this is not officially a parafocal lens, but I'm actually pretty impressed with how well it does keep the focus as I zoom in. Like right here, you can see these leaves. I might pause it here, and then we'll zoom in, and you can see they're pretty much still in focus. I'm on a monopod right here, but I want to do a test of the stabilization. Keep an eye out on the corner here. You can see it's not moving very much right now. I have the stabilization on, and now when I turn it off, you can see the frame is actually moving quite a bit more. As far as testing the lens in a harsh, difficult, let's just call it that, environment, I just took it to my daughter's soccer game. And this is a mix of monopod shots, especially here in the beginning, and some handheld shots later on to test out the stabilization of the lens. This is also all autofocus too, so it's tracking the center of the frame, because unfortunately with the C100 you can't move the focus point, but it's tracking the center of the frame, which this lens seems to do a pretty good job paired with the C100 Mark II. These shots right here, I believe, are handheld, and I've got the stabilization on. If you're looking at the corners of the frame, you can see it move quite a bit, but the stabilization is taming it pretty well. And the thing is, with the way we view video, our eyes as a viewer are going to be drawn to whatever the subject is, and unless the shake is terrible, our mind kind of gets rid of it as we focus on just the subject in the video. All in all, 1 day in, I'm pretty impressed with this lens and looking forward to testing it more and more. Lila did so good. No goals, but she got to the ball a lot. I thought there was that one point when she was the only person on our team. It was like 5-on-1. You did awesome.
Do a good one.
A good one?
Yeah, like a hard one. Next one.
I know. Because Lila did so good, she's getting a little bit of a treat tonight, and we're going to Mexican. Not like we don't do that all the time anyway. Lila said she's gonna eat everything on her plate. She said she's gonna finish the taco, and she said she's gonna finish the rice and beans. We'll see. I'll be impressed if she does. As I predicted, she did not finish her taco, and she did not finish her rice and beans. It's my candy. So which one would you want? You want nothing of these ones? What do you want?
Ice cream!
Ice cream. We came to the park, the dog park here, to eat our ice cream in the sun. And I'm hoping I can coerce Lila into taking a couple photos really quick. We'll see. Hands on the hips. What? That's all I wanted. High five. Alright.